Okay, this is a very quick demonstration of how a steamer can bring your foam back to life. You can see all the edges of, after years and years of use, become flattened. So get your steamer. And you bring up all your edges again. You can see it in the video. And it'll bring your foam back to life, which is also going to help to push out your corners and your fabric. You can also do this through, if something's been indented, you can do this method on your foam. Say something's happened to one of your arms, it's been creased or whatever, you can use that and it should bring your foam back up and fill your cushion out again. So it's a quick demonstration of how to do that. Okay, next stage is I'm going to put a bit of 1/2 inch or the felt on my inside back, just to bulk it up a little bit. Make sure you have enough to go around your sides, and at the top, slight strain. Put it to the top. Same on the other side. Slight strain on it. And on the top, it's just a piece of scrap 1/2 inch that I have lying around. Trim off your access. Go through that, we'll have a possible use for that later. Nip your corners and cut off any surplus. 1/2 inch. Next, on the seat, I'm just going to put a little piece of Dacron on this. And just over. It'll just help fill out anything. And we're going to be putting 2 borders on this. Just tack it roughly. And your front. I'm going to trim that off, and that's the chair ready. Okay, next stage is cut out your fabric. Again, make sure your pile is running the right way. It's smooth to the bottom and rougher pile to the top. You've had your measurements before, we made out the plan. Now we're going to put that plan into action. So we're going to cut out the fabric. Cut out each piece, mark your top and what that piece is for. That's my outside back, so I can go right OB for outside back. I'm going to put that aside. Next, I'm cutting out my inside back. Again, mark it top, and this time IB for inside back. So all it's left to do is cut the seat and the borders and a piping. Go through the same process of what your measurements are and cut those pieces out and be sure to mark them. Okay, that's everything I've cut out. The bottom border, piping for the bottom border, the top border, piping for the top border, my seat top, my outside back and my inside back. So what I'm going to need to do now is sew the pipings onto these borders and sew the seat up, and that's our next stage. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is run up my piping. That's one piping run up, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it to the top border. Make sure where you have your mark, you're putting it to the top. Lock your stitch. And I'll carry on and sew that. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I have the seat sewn up, so now I'm going to proceed with my inside back. Make sure your markings are to the top. Centre your cover, make sure you have, allow yourself enough on both sides. And also at the top, double check before you make any cuts, because once you've cut it, that's it. Just kind of push your cover down in there a little bit, the bottom, and next is you want to make some cuts. So we're cutting to the inside of the outside rail, and we're making a little V cut going to the outside, so that's from the inside and small V till the outside. And that's going to be tucked down in your seat. Okay, and now what we want to do is just put a temporary staple on the bottom to hold it in place, and put a string to the top, a gentle rub about any fullness, and again temporary staple. We're going to do the same on the other side. So we're putting it kind of at an angle to the bottom and across. Temporary staple in there. And again to the top. Now we're still putting it at that angle. And just give a rub. Pull the fullness out. If you're doing this in a stripe, you're going to have to centre everything. Mark a centre line. Okay. That's fine. Now I'm going to put slight strain, just rub the fullness out, put a tack of the back, that's in the centre, and again I'm pulling at an angle, slight rub the fullness out of it, hold it in place, tack, same on the other side. A rub and a pull. And a tack. And that's it, basically put in place. Now we're just going to go over the sides again. Just rub that fullness out and tack it. Keep your staples well back so when you're doing your finishing of your outside back will not be seen. And there's several different ways that we can finish the outside back. We can slip stitch it, we can use metal teeth, sometimes called shark teeth, or there's another metal way you can do it, or you could just staple it, but that doesn't make for a good finish. Just rub, make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. Now I'm going to cut off that excess cover. Now I'm going to do the same thing at the top, then I'll show you how to finish your top. Okay, I'm doing this top corner. What I've done first is put a tack in here on the top of the rail. Now we're going to do a cut midway. We're going to fold the cover because we want this to be as clean as possible. A couple of tacks. Trim off your excess cover. And then again, now we're left with a big bit of cover here. We don't want all that. We're going to cut roughly, let it hang over the edge just over ½ an inch. We'll turn it around on a plate. Put a good strain on, pull it. And that's us, that's our back done. Okay, now we'll have our inside back on. Tack, we've cut the excess cover off. Don't tack this yet because our seat's going to have to go through here. This is the bottom of your inside back. We don't want to cut or tack that yet. We'll leave that until later after we put our seat on. So next we're going to place this in position, line up the corners, and turn the piping down the way. And now we're going to have to make some more cuts, which is the same as what we done with the inside back. Just be careful when you're cutting it, you don't cut too far. So again, we're cutting towards the outside rail and then a small V to the inside. Fold your cover back, cut it, a small cut to the inside. Now this has to be pushed through where the inside back was. And sometimes you might need to cut a little bit more on that. What I'm going to do is just put a couple of temporary staples to hold the corners in place. And we're going to want to measure from the piping to the bottom of the rail on either side to make sure that it's the same distance. So I'll have a line nice and tight. Then we're going to pull the side to the back. Turn the piping around. Nice straight. And temporary tack. We're going to do the same on the other side. Okay, I've finished tacking the seat home around all 4 sides. And at the back, you tack your access cover up the way out of here so there's not too much thickness when we're putting our outside back. The next thing we're going to do is put our bottom border on it. So we need to centre that, fold it in half, put a neck in it. I've already done that. I'm going to measure this and just put a mark in the centre also. Doing this so we're not left with too much cover on one side. Now we have a rail here. We can feel the top of the rail, which is measuring 3 3/4, 9.5 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make several marks on it at the back, at the front. 2 more marks at the front and the back on the other side, and then I'm going to temporary this bottom border with the piping on the marks. So I'll carry on with that. Okay, I'm tempering this bottom border on here. I'm pulling the strain towards me, lining the top of the piping with the chalk mark. I'm putting a tack in it. Several marks to the front, which I'm doing the exact same thing. Putting the strain, piping to the top of the mark, hold it in place, put a tack in it. And we're going to do this the whole way around. Rub it around the corner, straighten, and tack. And you're just wanting to tack just below your sewing line from your piping, and a good strain to the back, and a tack. Just have a quick look, see if it's sitting straight. That's fine. Put it back up again, and this time we're going to tack it home, and we're going to use cardboard back tacking strip, which is this, and we're wanting to line the back tacking strip up with the sewing line. So again, putting a slight strain on it. And this time we're tacking it home. We want a nice neat finish. So I want to put quite a few staples in that. I'll finish that off. Okay, everything seems to be fine. The bottom border. Next we're going to put a little bit of 1/2 inch. So we don't see any rough edges, paper marks or anything like that. So we're going to start at the back. and scrap piece of 1/2 inch or a little bit of Dacron, just to take the rough edge and rough it off this. We're going to tack this. All around the 3 sides. And that gives it a much neater finish. Now what we're going to do is tack this with a slight strain to the back and one at the bottom. Rub the excess out and a temporary staple on that. And same on the other side. Rub and pull. Now, we'll have to do a couple of cuts here and we'll have to be very careful with these cuts. So we're cutting from the outside in, a little nick just short of the edge of the wood. And we're wanting to do that on both sides.